Welcome to Midgame Fundamentals, Episode 3. In this video, I'll be talking about vision control. Vision control is when your team has vision somewhere that the enemy team doesn't. On paper, it's not very complicated, but when it comes to execution, people can get mixed up a little bit. Vision control makes all of your future plays much easier to pull off. You'll have more time to think and communicate with your teammates, so everybody's on the same page, and the enemies are having to walk in a fog of war, so they have very limited information on what they should be doing, which also causes them to have less time to think about what they want to do because they're going to be hit immediately with a ton of information at once. Oftentimes that information is given to them too late. When to ward/sweep. First thing you want to do is make sure that you have lanes pushed out. I talked about this extensively in the last episode titled Minion Waves. I highly recommend you check it out if you haven't seen it already. Once you have that, you want to be warding as early as possible within the ward duration. If the ward dies while you still need vision, it's not going to be giving you proper value. But the great thing about warding earlier is you'll see if the enemy team uses their wards or looks to sweep. If you're playing support, you can look to drop your wards right before recalling because the base is going to refresh the wards in your support item anyway. When it comes to red trinket, you want to be doing that as late as you can. Because if you sweep earlier, the enemy team is going to have time to replace the wards. But if you do it right before an important fight, they're not going to have time to recall and refill their support item. Where to ward/sweep. Even beginners generally understand that you want to be warding in brushes. This is especially important if you're using control wards because they can be seen. But there are plenty of other factors for deciding where you want to place a ward. What side of the map are you playing for? For example, if Drake is spawning in a minute and you want to play for that, you probably don't need wards in the enemy top side. Instead, you'd rather be placing your wards around the Drake so that you'll be prepared for the fight that's going to happen in that general area. Of course, the same thing goes for the other side. If you're playing around something topside, you don't need as much vision in the bottom side of the map because it's not as relevant to what you're going to be doing. Choke points. Wherever you think the enemy is going to be entering, that's the ideal place to ward. For example, if your team is doing Dragon and you're on blue side, there's only 4 places the enemy team can come from unless they hit a plant. It's going to be Banana Brush, bot side Tri-Brush, mid lane, or bot lane. But the great thing about having minion waves pushed is you'll know if they come through mid lane or bot lane. And in general, it's much harder for them to sneak around because your team is going to see them most of the time if they're not coming through a brush like the Banana Brush or Tri-Brush. So if you have those 2 areas warded, it's very easy to stop the enemy team from getting what they want. But of course, this doesn't have to occur around a major objective. It can also just be in the enemy jungle when you're looking for a pick. If you know they're going to be crossing from one lane to another, look to clear the vision through the area they're going to be walking through, and that's a very easy way to set up a pick. It's more of a minor thing, but it can help to place wards in convenient positions for your teammate if you know they're looking to teleport into the fight. That way they'll easily be able to flank the opponents without having to go through an awkward angle from a minion in mid lane, for example. Of course, you also want to make sure the enemy team can't be looking to flank if they have champions that benefit from flanking, such as assassins like Fizz or Talon. Having ward behind you can help for that, or at least using red trinket to make sure that they can't teleport behind you. This clip is a great example of what I'm talking about. They're getting vision from mid lane, they have bot lane pushed out to enemy tier 1 turret, they're starting Dragon, and they're fighting over the vision of the Banana Brush. Because they know that's where the enemy team wants to engage from, and as long as they can hold that position, the enemy team can't really do anything to stop them. They also get vision in the Tri-Brush, and they use that to get information for their fight in the Atacon, which is right next to the Drake. This turns a close game into one that they're really far ahead very quickly. When looking to get vision control, it's very important that you avoid getting caught. Warding over a wall is a great first step, but it's not always enough. Sometimes you can check with skill shots like an Ezreal Q, but of course, most of the time you're not going to be able to cover the entire brush, even if your champion does have a low cooldown skill shot. So the best way to avoid getting caught while warding is to rotate with teammates. Whether it's you warding or your teammate warding, as long as you're together, it's much harder to get caught because you'll be there to get them out of that terrible situation if the enemy tries to set up a pick. But imagine you walk in by yourself. You're almost guaranteed to die because you're potentially walking into 4 or 5 enemies. And if you don't have minion waves pushed, this becomes even riskier if you're not rotating with your teammates. Sometimes you're not able to hold vision control for that long. Maybe your team isn't that strong or somebody got caught and you have to back off for a little bit. It's okay. All you need to do is wait for the critical time that you need vision. This is typically going to be in the middle of a fight. You can place a ward in a brush, and yes, it can be cleared by the enemy team. It still gives your team an opportunity to return attacks on the opponent instead of a very one-sided fight. Of course, this isn't ideal, but if you don't have access to proper vision control and you still want to take the fight, you have to try to do the best you can with what you have. This clip showcases what can happen if you're by yourself and you're trying to get vision control, but you're not able to maintain it because your teammates aren't strong enough or they're not close enough to effectively help you. When he's trying to get the wards out, most of his teammates are still trying to get waves pushed, so they're not able to move yet. He has to respect that, place whatever wards he can, but understand that they're going to be cleared and try to look for a better opportunity later. This is why it's very important when you can to help out your support to be able to ward so that they're able to get more useful, deeper wards, and so that you can help them protect whatever wards they do get out, whether they're shallow or not. If you're going to take anything away from this video, it should be that Fog of War is scary. When possible, you want to get rid of it, but make sure your opponents have to deal with it. Get control of whatever area you're going to need info the most. You don't have to control vision everywhere, just in the important spots. And most importantly, vision is not just a support's job. It's everybody's job.